El Día Mundial del Medio Ambiente es un excelente instrumento para crear conciencia y aportar lo mejor a nuestro planeta. Nuestra corresponsal internacional, KARINA CHEZ, entrevistó, con motivo de la celebración de dicho día, a Bourne, periodista de National Geographic.
The end of plenty, not so many fish in the sea, and our neighbors Haiti's dirt poor. These are terrifying realities. What should we learn from this work?
Well, we're at a very interesting point in human history. We now have 1 billion people who are malnourished, more than any other time in humanity. We're using more resources than ever before. Population is growing, and yet food resources are stagnating, and climate change is sort of the wild card that's making everything uncertain. So that's what, for an environmental journalist, it's an incredible time to be working now. And for the first time, we're very focused on the science and really interpreting the science from what we're learning now, which is vast amounts of knowledge about the climate and how it affects us, and to how we translate that into good public policy that can actually sustain us and our kids, for the next century. Essentially, we're trying to figure out, and one of the major purposes of my talk today is how to feed ourselves by 2050. Because after 2050, if we can make it to 2050 and get everybody reasonably fed, then population is projected to start declining.
Now, transporting ourselves to this little country in the Caribbean, how progressive do you think the Dominican Republic is with reference to its environmental policies? And is it in a position to be a leader in environmental sustainability? I know Al Gore had mentioned something about our geographic location, some benefits that we might have.
Sure. It's wonderfully positioned. I'm not an expert on the DR, but everything I hear is fantastic. You've been able to maintain 30% of your forest cover, which is tremendous. It provides enormous ecosystem services, but it's particularly important for water. You have the largest economy in the Caribbean, so you actually be a leader both in public policy as well as in business. There are tremendous opportunities in renewable resources. There are biofuels that can be done very wisely. So Brazil, we've got an example where we're talking about Brazil doing sugarcane and how efficient that is to make ethanol for transportation fuels. So there are opportunities there. And it's opportunities to do good that raises the level for everyone, both to increase food production, increase energy production, but also do it in a way that doesn't harm the environment.
If there's an upside on the economic side, which big development companies are looking for, we want to get our money back, ROI, right?
Sure.
And that exists, then the gap there seems to be education, knowledge.
You have to have good political leadership. You have to have a business environment that both protects your natural resources and promotes the type of sustainable or renewable development that we're talking about. And you also have to have a good social quotient. We've talked earlier a little bit about walls. I hate walls. I hate communities that sort of isolate, whether it's visitors or tourism or business people from the rest of the country. The Dominican people are beautiful. They are very friendly, they're warm. They are one of the biggest selling points this country has. Yeah. And why would you exclude, a visitor from that experience? You wouldn't. I mean, we can learn from you just as you can learn from us, and it's a wonderful two-way street. And that's what travel is all about anyway.
That's a good point. There will be many influential people in this conference today, business leaders, political leaders. What do you hope to achieve with this presentation? What do you want to ingrain in their minds when they leave today?
Well, first, I'd love to scare them into some sort of activity. I mean, the projections, even though I'm an optimist at heart, the projections are daunting if we fail to act. The problem with most politicians, and I'll speak from the United States, is they have a very short attention span. It lasts about 2 years.
That's the case, I think, here too.
Yeah, the election cycle. So what we really need to do is have political leaders with the long view, who are not afraid to take maybe unpopular stands against some of the vested interests in order to move the country in the right direction. And once it kind of goes there, it's like a trickle effect. I think once you get the flow started, then everything goes in that direction, and it will be on the right path.
Well, that's a good point, because I'm particularly looking forward to hearing you speak at the conference to know exactly what I can do to better the environment. What are 3 things you think Dominicans, or would you suggest Dominicans do in their everyday lives that could impact the environment, or can protect it, or change the things that they're doing in their everyday lives that they don't even notice?
The easiest thing we can do turn off the light, conserve our water resources, you know, not waste water in any stretch of imagination, just sort of learn to live a little cleaner and greener on the environment. Food the same way. I feed my kids mostly organic food. My wife and I have contributed to a local farmer, you know, along with a lot of other families who grows food for us and brings us a box every year. So we're sort of escaping the middlemen in the corporate agriculture group to support local agriculture. And it's a great thing. And the third thing is also important. Along with the micro level, you have to hold your leaders accountable. You have to, you know, especially in democratic countries, you cannot let them get away with a short-term view.
Accountability. Because
it's your kids, it's your grandkids, you know, and essentially we're just here enjoying this land and this life until we can pass it on to theirs. There's no real ownership. We're just holding it in trust. Yeah.
And that's something you ingrained from the start. You have a couple of children that are small and are already environmentally conscious.
They are. They're hardcore.
Yeah.
They hold me accountable. They hold me accountable and don't let me get away with anything. And that's what I think should do for our politicians as well.
Great. Lastly, and most intriguing, will we ever see you surfing on the beaches of Cabarete?
Oh,
a renowned surfing spot here?
I hope so, but I'm afraid it would be so embarrassing. When somebody told me you'll have a big surf contest for the Masters, the old guys here, I'm like, well, I should try to come and just sit on the beach and watch. Because I was
you should try it incognito and then we'll...
That's right. I'll have to wear a mask.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Bourne, it's been my pleasure, and we'll follow your career and message to heart, for sure.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here in Santo Domingo Invita.
It's my pleasure.